Hello everybody, this is Age of Empires Tips and welcome back to another tutorial video. In this video I'm going to show you how to get to the Bronze Age in under 15 minutes on a hill country map type with revealed map off. I already did a very similar video but with reveal map on, and I got a comment on that video from Coolblade23 who asked me to do the same video but with reveal map off, and that's what I'm going to do in this video. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank everyone else who has posted comments under my videos. I really appreciate your support, guys, so please keep them coming. It really motivates me to make more videos, even though I only have a limited amount of time available. And I know that there's a bunch of other guys who have also posted suggestions before, but this just feels like the appropriate video to do at this moment. But I do take your suggestions into consideration, so please keep the suggestions coming. I really do appreciate it a lot. Anyway, with all that out of the way, let's jump straight into this tutorial. Now we start off as usual, queuing 4 villagers at the town center. 2 villagers start building a house and 1 villager starts looking for my berries, which isn't really necessary because my berries are right here, and unfortunately there's a tree in the middle of my berries which prevents me from making the perfect granary. So I have to improvise here, so I decided to make granary on the other side. Keep in mind that for the first house you do want to build it a little at a little bit of a distance from your town center, such that it allows you to make farms at your town center later on. So I figured that this berry will allow me to have a steady villager flow without an idle town center with just 5 villagers foraging. So I'm putting 5 villagers on berries here. Then the 6th villager will start to build a second house. And really the key on a hill country map is exploration. Explore, explore, explore. Even more so than on water maps that are very predictable, such as Continental or Mediterranean. So exploration really is key here in order to find your food that will allow you to make quick Bronze Age times. And I have already sent 1 villager out to explore around the area, and I have added him to control group 1. It's always a good idea to assign your explorers to a control group, as this will allow you to easily keep a close eye on them while they are exploring. This is very important because they might run into lines and you might lose your villager if you cannot quickly switch to one of your exploration villagers. Just as I was talking, I also sent a second exploration villager in the other direction, and with the first exploration villager I actually came across a bunch of deer here that I decided to hunt, to herd to my town center right away. And while all that was happening, I also made a 3rd house, and I sent the remaining villagers to cut wood around my town center, collect wood from stragglers, and make sure that when you are collecting wood from stragglers around your town center, that they are not interfering with your deer hunt. So make sure that they're cutting wood on the other side of your town center. Otherwise, you will mess up your food. So the other exploration villager is exploring towards the south using a patrol path that I laid out for him. Make sure that you make your houses in time. So I'm making my 4th house around the 13th or 14th villager mark. And at this moment I'm finalizing my deer hunt. There's only 1 deer left, which I will hunt in a moment. And my 2nd exploration villager, I am assigning a 2nd patrol path at this moment because it was idle. So there's 1 deer left over there that I'm using that 1 villager to make sure that that one also dies at my town center. And wow, it needed 5 hits in order to kill it, with just like 4 HP left. That's phenomenal. Now at this point I kind of noticed that there is a bunch of deer just south of that gold mine, so I figured that I was going to herd those deer towards the gold mine and to make a storage pit next to the gold mine to be able to collect food now from the deer, and later on I can use the same storage pit to collect gold. And at this point I also made my first storage pit next to some wood at almost 5.5 minutes. That is quite late, but that is due to the deer that are at my town center, which got some priority over the wood for the time being. So that's why my storage pit is up just a little bit later. But that's actually not a big deal in this case because I do have those deer at my town center. Now remember, you might not always have deer or elephants close to your town center, and in that case you do want to get your first storage pit next to some real forest up as quickly as you possibly can, because this will allow you to make additional storage pits or granaries and get food from elsewhere on the map. And while I'm herding these deer, I did send out another villager to explore towards the other side of the map in order to see what kind of food is around here. And it turns out there is a berry over there which I'm definitely going to use, because these deer won't nearly be enough to advance to the Bronze Age. But that berry will definitely help out. That's a couple of hundred additional food that I'm going to get. Now, I did make a little error on herding these deer, so it takes a little bit longer, which is a pity. But it's really difficult to play a game without any errors at all. And at this point I did find it a little bit difficult to find a good spot for my storage pit there where I could place it. Luckily there was one position left where I could place it, so that's nice. It means that my deer herding wasn't all for nothing. And I've got a really nice storage pit over here next to some gold and some deer. And at this point my explorer is being attacked by a lion, and I am being a little bit clumsy over here. I tried to get my villager on top of the hill so that it would do additional damage to the lion. But yeah, it looked really clumsy in the end. But luckily I still managed to beat the lion, quite surprisingly actually. But oh well, I was kind of lucky there. And at this point I have 27 villagers, which is actually quite a lot of villagers to have on a hill country map. So I decided to stop making villagers and go up to the tool age. Now I've sent a bunch of villagers towards this granary over here to make sure that I get some additional food. I'm also going to lure that elephant towards that storage pit. Now the ideal amount of villagers to make in order to age up with on a hill country map is anywhere from 24 to 28. If you're going straight for a Bronze Age strategy. 28 is really the maximum amount of villagers that you do want to make. And you also got to make sure that you don't click up to the next stage as late as 10 minutes or something, because that's really too late. So if you find it very difficult to consistently age up before the 10-minute mark, make sure that you review your game and see in what areas you could improve, and make sure that you practice a lot, and eventually it will be second nature pretty much. Now at this point I realized that I was a bit too low on wood, so I took some villagers off food and put them on wood so that I can make right away a stable and a market as soon as I hit the tool age. And at this point I'm also having about 800 food. It will be approximately 800 as soon as I enter the tool age, so that I can go to the Bronze Age as soon as possible. Remember, you don't want to spend a lot of time in the tool age. You only want to make sure that you have your market and your stable, or your archery range and your stable up as quickly as possible, and then simply click the upgrade to the Bronze Age. Now I do have a little bit of a delay here, as I was just too low on wood to make my market right away, but I used that time to make an additional villager, because I did have some additional food just to make that extra villager. So if you're just a little bit too late on the Bronze Age upgrade, use that extra time to make an additional villager and don't waste it by having your town center idle. Now at this point it's time to make good use of that storage pit that I made earlier next to that gold, and I'm going to put some villagers on gold right away, because remember we're going to do a cavalry rush and that requires plenty of gold. Also remember to do the wood cutting upgrade as soon as you possibly can, as this will help you accelerate your wood cutting, and also it will allow you to make some additional farms. Some prefer to actually do the gold mining upgrade in order to help accelerate their gold mining, but since I've already have this excellent gold next to this gold mine that I can mine gold from right away, I decided to do the wood cutting upgrade instead, in order to gain wood more quickly and build more farms. Now if you have a third berry, or you have a good patch of deer nearby that you haven't used yet, you can use that instead of making farms, and you probably should use that before making farms, because it's just a little bit more efficient, and it will allow you to be a little bit more aggressive in the early Bronze Age, which is always a good idea. Now I don't have any additional food sources, so I am going to need some additional farms. Looking back on this game, I actually think that I explored just a little bit too little, and there might be some more food just around the corner but that I haven't explored yet. But I don't have the additional food, so I am going to need some farms. The upside of this is, though, that I do have some stability, because farms provide more stability and less micromanagement. Now, as soon as you hit the Bronze Age, you still want to get wheel, even though you don't have chariots. Now, if you're very low on food, you could skip the wheel and choose to make some additional cavalry instead. You could, for instance, do this if you decide to age up really fast with a low villager count. That way you will be able to have your cavalry out as quickly as possible. But I decided to go for wheel and just accelerate your economy, because wheel gives a nice boost to your villagers and gives a nice boost to your economy. So we will be able to attack bigger shortly afterwards. Wheel has been researched. Now make sure that you do your upgrades on your cavalry, especially your armor. You should always prioritize armor upgrades. And if you have food left, then may do the attack upgrade. And if you have more food left, then you can also make a scout before you enter the Bronze Age. But I didn't have any food, so I decided, okay, I'm not going to make that scout. I am simply going to make cavalry. So at this point, all you want to do is simply make cavalry and villagers. And as soon as you see that you have enough wood for a new farm, take a villager of wood or use a new villager and use it to build an additional farm. Now at this point you can do a lot of things. For instance, you can start making a government center and make additional town centers, and then start collecting stone, because Chosen has incredible towers. So there's lots of things that you can do from here. But this was just a very basic example of how to get to the Bronze Age in under 15 minutes on a hill country non-revealed game. And I left out some small details. For instance, in a real game you do want to wall up certain parts of your base, especially your woodcutters. And in this case I could have easily walled off my woodcutters so that enemy troops cannot easily kill my villagers. But I will make additional videos on the exact same topic, because I think hill country games are very diverse in terms of their setup, and you have to improvise quite a lot. So that's why it's pretty much impossible to show everything in just a single video. But I hope this gave a good idea of how to explore in a hill country non-reveal map game. Anyway, if you found this video useful, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you want to stay updated on future videos. And if you have any comments regarding the video, make sure to leave them in the comments. If you have suggestions for future videos, please leave them in the comments, and I will definitely take them into consideration. But that's it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.